Hello and welcome to our Flip video lesson 3.03, The Origins of Islam. The recorded links will be posted here. Learning objectives of this lesson: recognize the role of trade in the Byzantine Empire, analyze maps to identify geographic characteristics of the Arabian Peninsula, identify key places in the development of Islam, summarize the early life and teaching of Muhammad, and define Islam, Muslim, and Hijrah. Introduction, Mecca and the beginning of Islam. Student guide questions, pages 376 to 377. And I will note you will need an extra piece of paper. There is not much room to write on the questions today. We'll go over a few important vocabulary words to help with the understanding of this lesson. And then, as always, please remember to complete your reading pages 459 to 466 in your Human Odyssey book to complete everything for this lesson. Introduction, the origins of Islam. In the thriving trade center of Mecca, a thoughtful merchant began preaching. He claimed to have had revelations from God, and he described a new religion. His words wafted out of Mecca and Medina along the caravan routes that crisscrossed the Arabian Peninsula and out into the Mediterranean world and beyond. His ideas continued to spread, and today there are more than 1 billion Muslims in the world. Trade played an important role in the growth and development of the Byzantine Empire. On any given day, it was said you could hear almost every language of the world on the streets of Constantinople. Merchants traded silk, which comes from China. Constantinople was the center of the world. Merchants traded ivory and exotic spices from Africa and India. Merchants traded furs from Russia. Other items traded included jewelry, enamel, glassware, and silver. The merchants said, "The finest goods in the entire world sail into our port." And by AD 600, the sale of silk brought more riches to the Byzantine Empire than any other product. And you're probably thinking, why is this important to Islam? Well, think about all of the cultural diffusion, all of the spreading ideas that came from this trade, that came from this travel, that came from this movement. And this is how ideas were spread. So that kind of leads into our lesson. Open your student guide to page 376. Again, there's not much room to write, so you're going to want to get a piece of paper, and then you can staple it or tape it to this page so you have it in the right position. Question number 1. Describe the way of the Bedouin in the ancient times. The Bedouins were nomads, continually moving from place to place in search of sparse vegetation and water. They traveled with their herds of livestock. They got milk and cheese from their goats, and they lived in tents made of camel or goat hair mixed with plant fibers. They used camel hair and the wool of sheep to make clothing. They were members of many independent tribes that spoke the same language. The tribes often feuded with each other. The members of the tribes helped each other survive the harsh desert climate. So they were basically a group of nomads traveling through the desert. What were some of the trade of the items that the caravans carried? What were some of the places that the caravans visited? And just a quick note, a caravan is a group traveling together. Okay, so in this case, this was this nomadic group traveling together through the desert. Merchants in the caravans carried ivory from Africa, rubies from India, silk from China, and spices from Arabia. The caravan routes threaded across the parched land in all directions, leading to places such as Egypt, Persia, the Byzantine Empire, and beyond. What dangers did the caravans face? Traders had to be on the lookout for desert tribesmen who might swoop down from the dunes and raid a caravan, or demand payment for safe passage. The desert was extremely hot and dry during the day, and extremely cold at night. How did the oasis help travelers? And you'll notice in your book, oasis is spelled differently, O-A-S-E-S. So just a quick note there. Travelers could stop at the oases to rest and trade their goods. Some oases grew into centers of commerce. They were the crossroads for people, products, and ideas. And an oasis is basically a wet spot in the middle of the desert. And so you can imagine why areas grew up around that oasis, because people need water to survive, and they were good stopping points for these caravans. Question number 5. Why was Mecca important? The city of Mecca was both a thriving center of trade and a busy center of worship. Question number 6. Describe the early life of Muhammad. Muhammad was born in Mecca around the year AD 570. His father died before he was born, and his mother died when he was 6 years old. He spent the first 5 years of his life among wandering shepherds. His grandfather and his uncle took care of him. Muhammad probably tended sheep, camels, and goats. He traveled with caravans and journeyed to many far-off cities. He met all sorts of people, kept his ears open, and absorbed new ideas. Muhammad eventually married the wealthy widow he worked for. Question number 7. What happened to Muhammad when he was in the cave? What did he begin doing afterwards? And again, this is where the reading of your Human Odyssey ties in. If you don't do your reading, you're not going to understand this question. So we can't possibly do the reading and these questions, everything in one flip video session. So it's important that you do that part on your own. So when you come to this flip video, you have a good understanding of these questions. So he had a vision. An angel called Gabriel came to him while he was asleep. The angel told Muhammad to recite the writing on the embroidered cloth. He recited the words as though the words were written on his heart. Muhammad spent the rest of his life preaching to the Arabs. Gradually, he came to the conclusion that his mission was to be the prophet of Allah. Why did Muhammad move to Medina? Mecca's rulers began to plot to kill Muhammad. When Muhammad heard about the plot, he decided to leave Mecca and move to Medina. And obviously this word Medina, some of you maybe are from Medina, around parts of Ohio, but this is pronounced Medina. Use what you know, the rise of Islam. So this is kind of a repeat of what we talked about there with Muhammad, but Muhammad was born in Mecca around AD 570. He became the prophet of Allah when he was around 40. He told people to surrender to God or Allah. He founded the religion of Islam, and he escaped a plot to kill him by going to Hijra in Medina in 622 AD. You can take a look at that map if you need to. You can always pause it. And then this is Focus on Geography. This is on page 377. Again, not much room to write in there, but these answers are shorter, so you may be able to fit it in there in your book. And this is also on page 461 in your Human Odyssey reading book if you can't see this map very well on the slide. So what body of water lies west of Mecca and Medina? The Red Sea. Where is the Arabian Sea? It's south of the Arabian Peninsula. What body of water lies east of the Arabian Peninsula? That would be the Persian Gulf. Where is the Arabian Desert? It's the name given to all the deserts along the peninsula. What is Rub al-Khali and where is it located? It's a desert located in the southern part of the Arabian Peninsula. And again, you can use this map to look at these places that I'm describing. You can always pause this video. Which city on the Arabian Peninsula receives the most amount of rainfall? That would be Mecca. Which cities on the Arabian Peninsula receive the least amount of rainfall? That would be Medina, Riyadh, is it Riyadh? I probably pronounced that slightly incorrectly, and Muscat. How much rainfall does Mecca receive? Mecca receives between 4 and 8 inches of rain. And then how much rainfall does Medina receive? Medina receives less than 4 inches of rain. And again, vocabulary is always important as you're reading through to understand what you're reading. Hijra is Muhammad's flight to Medina. Mecca is a city in Western Arabia, birthplace of Muhammad, and a ritual center of the Islamic religion. Muhammad is believed by Muslims to be the last great prophet, and Muslim is a follower of Islam. And then reading is key to comprehension. As I said before and always say, it is super important to get your reading completed so you have a full understanding of the lessons we discuss in class and these flip video lessons while filling in your student guide. So pages 459 to 466. Here we come to our quote section. Don't be agnostic, be something. And that was said by Robert Frost. Never stop learning because life never stops teaching. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it is called the present. Thanks so much for joining me today. Have an amazing day.